Listen, there's a moment every man faces, a moment he doesn't see coming, but it hits him like cold water in the middle of the night. It's when the woman he trusted, the woman he cared for, suddenly shifts. Her tone changes. Her energy feels different, and you can't quite explain it. But something in your chest tells you this isn't the woman you thought she was anymore. That uneasy instinct. It's not paranoia. It's awareness. It's the part of you that's waking up. Because here's the truth most men never hear until it's too late. A woman's behavior changes long before her words ever do. And when she starts doing certain things, consistent, subtle, almost quiet red flags, you don't negotiate with them, you don't rationalize them, you don't hope they'll go away. You leave, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. What makes this so dangerous is that it rarely starts with something big. It starts with distance. Emotional first, then physical. She used to light up when you walked into the room. Now she barely lifts her eyes from her phone. She used to ask questions, stay curious, be present. Now she gives you one-word answers, or a shrug, or a sigh that makes you feel like you're asking for too much just by existing. And you tell yourself she's stressed, busy, tired. But deep down you know this is different because she's not acting tired with everyone. She's only tired with you. Then comes the inconsistency. She wants you one day, ignores you the next. She calls you affectionate names tonight, but tomorrow acts like you're lucky she even replied. And you start adjusting your behavior just to avoid upsetting her or losing her, not realizing you're slowly training yourself to accept less and less. That's how good men get broken, by trying to earn back a connection that she has already emotionally checked out of. But the hardest part? It's how she stops appreciating the things you used to do for her, the thoughtful messages, the effort, the presence. She used to value it. Now she treats it like background noise, something she expects rather than cherishes. And you notice it, every man does, but you push it down because you care, because you don't want to lose her, because you think giving more will fix what is slipping away. But giving more to someone who no longer values you doesn't bring them closer. It pushes you further away from yourself. If you're still reading, here's my question for you. Have you ever ignored a red flag because you didn't want to face the truth behind it? Comment your answer, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a man who needs to hear it. She doesn't start acting distant overnight. A woman pulls away in tiny waves, long before a man realizes he's standing in the middle of an emotional low tide. And the hardest part? She rarely says what's actually wrong. She just changes. Her tone shifts, her eyes stop lighting up, her replies get shorter, and suddenly you're wondering if you imagined the connection she once swore was real. But listen closely. This isn't random behavior. This is a pattern that shows up when a woman has silently decided she can no longer respect the man standing in front of her. And it always starts with one thing. She begins testing whether you're the man she believed you were, or the man she fears you might be. Women don't test strength, they test emotional leadership. They test your boundaries, your confidence, your ability to stay grounded when she becomes unpredictable. If she raises her voice, she's not looking for competition. She's watching your reaction. If she pulls back, she wants to know if you'll chase or choose yourself. If she creates friction, she wants to see whether you crumble, panic, or remain calm. The moment she feels like she can emotionally dominate you, something inside her switches off. Attraction dies quietly, like a candle in a room no one walks into anymore. And here's the part most men never hear. Once she loses respect, affection becomes a performance. She'll still text you, still smile at you, still say she's just tired, but her heart has already stepped back to the doorway. She won't leave immediately because women don't like being the villain. They wait for you to read the signs. They wait for you to either step up or step out of the way. If you feel like you're explaining yourself more than ever, if she's suddenly picking fights over things that never bothered her, if her energy has dipped so low you can't recognize the woman you started with, that's not confusion. That's a warning. Not because she's evil or manipulative, but because something in her spirit is trying to escape a version of the relationship that no longer feels safe, stable, or inspiring. And the truth is, she's hoping you notice. She's hoping you rise, or she's hoping you walk. But she won't carry both of your emotional weights forever. And if you ignore these signs, the distance you feel today becomes the breakup you didn't see coming tomorrow. A woman's behavior becomes strange when she feels she can get away with giving you less while still keeping you around. That's the part men don't want to hear. If she thought you'd leave, she'd straighten up instantly. But she senses your attachment. She senses your fear of losing her. She senses that no matter how she shifts, you'll stay. So she takes emotional risks that she never took at the beginning. She becomes careless with the attention she once fought for. This is where men make their biggest mistake. They try harder. They text more, call more, over-explain themselves, offer reassurance she never gave them. They try to fix something she already decided to break. And the more effort you put into a woman who's emotionally drifting, the faster she drifts. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because she no longer feels challenged. And a woman who doesn't feel challenged starts treating you like an option, even if she swears she never would. You have to understand something deep. When a woman acts weird, she's watching your reaction more than anything. She wants to see if you'll panic. She wants to see if you'll beg for clarity. She wants to see if you'll chase just a little harder, because how you react tells her everything about what role she can safely place you in. Not the role you want, but the role she feels you're willing to settle for. If she can give you half and you still stay, she won't suddenly give you whole. If she can treat you casually and you still treat her seriously, she won't magically respect you more. If she knows you're afraid to lose her, she'll never worry about losing you. That's why her behavior shifts. That's why she acts strange. She feels too secure, too certain, too confident that your heart will remain parked exactly where she left it. But the moment you stop rewarding her distance with effort, everything changes. When she texts late and you don't reply instantly, she feels something. When she sends a dry message and you don't mirror her energy with enthusiasm, she notices. When she acts confusing and you don't demand answers, she starts questioning herself. And that questioning, those tiny sparks of uncertainty, that's what wakes her up more than any speech, confrontation, or emotional plea ever could. Here's the truth most men never hear until it's too late. When a woman crosses certain lines, she's not confused, she's not stressed, and she's not figuring herself out. She's showing you exactly where you stand. And the moment you try to rationalize it, excuse it, or pretend it's temporary, you hand her the power she already decided you don't deserve. A woman who values you will guard the relationship, guard your feelings, and guard your trust like it's something fragile and precious. But a woman who's mentally checked out, she becomes careless. And carelessness is the first symptom of emotional exit. She'll start dismissing your concerns with a laugh. She'll tell you you're overthinking, even when you're simply responding to her behavior. She'll act annoyed when you ask simple questions, as if your presence is suddenly a burden instead of a blessing. And the worst part? You'll feel that shift before you can explain it. That subtle sinking pressure in your chest when you know something is off, but you can't prove it yet. A woman who's losing respect for you doesn't argue less. She argues differently. Her tone sharpens. Her patience evaporates. She looks at you not as a partner, but as an obstacle she's tired of navigating. And you'll catch yourself giving her more chances than you would ever give anyone else, because men don't walk away from what they love easily. But you need to understand this. Love doesn't justify disrespect. Loyalty doesn't excuse neglect. Effort doesn't erase the reality that she is showing you she no longer fears losing you. When a woman stops fearing the loss of a good man, she will test him, not always intentionally. Sometimes it's emotional autopilot, a way of confirming whether the relationship still has structure, or whether she can break the foundation without consequences. And if you keep rewarding the behavior, she won't stop, she'll escalate. You'll notice her becoming emotionally unavailable, yet somehow energetically invested everywhere except with you. She'll be on her phone more, but texting you less. She'll have energy for her friends, her co-workers, her online world. But when it comes to you, she's tired, busy, or not in the mood. That's not stress, that's priority shift. And every time you pretend not to see it, you teach her that you'll stay no matter how poorly she treats you. That's not strength. That's self-abandonment disguised as patience. But the moment you stop rewarding her distance with effort, everything changes. When she texts late and you don't reply instantly, she feels something. When she sends a dry message and you don't mirror her energy with enthusiasm, she notices. When she acts confusing and you don't demand answers, she starts questioning herself. And that questioning, those tiny sparks of uncertainty, That's what wakes her up more than any speech, confrontation, or emotional plea ever could. Now here's the part men usually wake up to too late. When her behavior becomes strange, it's not a phase, it's a turning point. She's not trying to confuse you. She's trying to decide if staying is costing her more than leaving. A woman feels emotional shifts deeply, and she reacts to them privately long before she reacts publicly. Her weirdness isn't a flaw, it's a signal. But the question is whether you'll decode it or ignore it. If she suddenly stops sharing details about her day, it means she no longer feels emotionally invited into your world. If she becomes quieter, it means she's replaying memories where she felt valued and wondering when that stopped. If she seems irritated by small things, those aren't the triggers. Those are the reminders. Reminders of all the times she didn't feel heard, understood, or prioritized. Men often say, "She just changed." But women don't just change. They adapt. They pull back because they've been pouring into something that hasn't been refilling them. They become distant because closeness no longer feels safe. They become cold because warmth without reciprocity becomes exhausting. When she acts weird, she's not becoming dramatic. She's becoming protective. She's guarding her emotional energy. She's testing the ground beneath her feet. She's deciding if loving you is helping her grow or slowly shrinking her. She's questioning whether she's fighting alone for something that takes two people to sustain. This is where many men lose a woman, not because she stopped loving, but because she stopped hoping. But here's the part you need to hear. A woman's weird behavior is often her final attempt to reconnect. She's hoping you'll notice. She's hoping you'll step up. She's hoping you'll ask the right questions, not to fix her, but to understand her. Her actions are saying, "Show me that I matter before I convince myself that I don't." If you ignore the signs, her weirdness will become detachment, and detachment is irreversible. Once a woman stops caring about how things feel, she stops caring about how things end. That's why these moments matter, not because she's acting strange, but because she's silently asking you if the connection is still worth fighting for. There's a moment every man faces, and it usually arrives right after he's tried everything to hold a relationship together. It's the quiet second when you realize you've been carrying the entire weight of something that was supposed to be shared. And if she's doing the behaviors we've been talking about, this is where the truth hits you like cold air in the chest. Because a woman who genuinely values you will always show it, even in her worst moments. She won't make you feel like you're begging for her attention, auditioning for her affection, or apologizing for simply wanting clarity. A woman who cares steps toward you, not away from you. But a woman who's already halfway out the door starts behaving like she's doing you a favor by staying. She becomes short, distant, inconsistent, and strangely irritated by things she used to admire about you. And that's when most men make the biggest mistake. They double their effort, thinking they can earn back the warmth she chose to remove. Listen carefully. When her energy changes without explanation, when her presence becomes selective, when her words shrink but her expectations rise, you cannot negotiate your way back into her heart. Not because you're not enough, but because she has already rewritten the role she sees you playing. And this is the part that's hardest for men to accept. Her behavior is telling you everything her words won't. When a woman starts acting in ways that leave you confused, anxious, or questioning yourself, that discomfort isn't something you're supposed to push through. It's something you're supposed to pay attention to. Because the moment you ignore your own intuition, you give her permission to treat you in ways that slowly break you down. And once a man starts losing himself, the relationship is already finished, even if he refuses to admit it. Leaving doesn't always mean walking out. Sometimes it means stepping back into your own worth. Sometimes it means refusing to chase someone who stopped showing up emotionally. Sometimes it means reclaiming the man you were before you started bending yourself to keep her comfortable. And despite what you may fear, the truth is, the right woman won't let you leave. She'll step up, communicate, and fight for the connection. The wrong woman will let you walk out and blame you for the door closing. Now I want to ask you something deeply personal. Have you ever stayed longer than you should have because you hoped she would change? Tell me your honest answer in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a man who needs to hear it today.